Chinese drywall, one of the biggest, most scariest, menacing thing to happen in real estate investing in the past decade. Right now, I'm going to show you how to detect it. We're going to learn about Chinese drywall, and then we're also going to learn how to fix the issue of Chinese drywall. Hey guys, Zach and Flip with Rick here. If you're really liking and enjoying the content that we're having here at Flip with Rick, teaching you how to become a complete real estate investor, please take the time to like and subscribe to this video and just leave a comment or two about your comments about the video. So today we're actually going to go into Chinese drywall. And Chinese drywall, I've become a so-called expert lately because if you haven't seen our previous video, one of the most popular videos, we actually bought a house and the inspectors told us it had Chinese drywall. I'm not going to get into the details because that's not the important thing about this video, but just letting you know that we've had experience where we actually had to educate ourselves on Chinese drywall. In the end, it was not Chinese drywall. It was just so much sulfur from the cigarette smoking. Previous seller actually smoked 5 cigarettes a day. So I know a lot of you guys here search Chinese drywall. I've looked at the analytics of our page and that has just got the most search through and click through rates. So maybe you guys are searching this and you're a homeowner and you don't know about Chinese drywall. You live in the South and you don't really know. You might have Chinese drywall and you're scared. You don't have the education of Chinese drywall. Not everyone does. Unfortunately, I had to educate myself very well on this, so I can actually do a breakdown on this. So this might be a longer video than usual, but I want homeowners to be comfortable, and I want real estate investors and wholesalers to actually understand about Chinese drywall so they don't get killed on a wholesale, a buy and hold, a rental, or just on a wholesale deal, getting killed by a seller. So let's get into this video and let's really just break everything down here. Okay, guys. So, Chinese drywall. Chinese drywall is basically a defective drywall that was made in China from around 2001 to 2009, and it was made in China and exported to the United States. Now, why am I saying this? There's a lot of important details in here, but overall in the video, we're actually going to do 3 important things. I'm going to teach you about Chinese drywall so you understand the origin, the history, why it's bad, why some of them are good. I'm going to show you how to actually detect it, and I'm going to actually help you and show you actually how to fix the problem of Chinese drywall. Or if you're a real estate investor like myself, how to actually go back and get a better deal from that. So Chinese drywall has hit the United States, southern states the hardest because during 2001, 2009, there was just a plethora of hurricanes hitting us. And there was so much drywall repair. And also, if you know, the real estate market was booming like crazy in the manufacturing, and there's just so much demand for gypsum drywall, and everyone were just flooding the market here, and there just wasn't enough clean United States drywall. And so a company in China and some others actually created, they cut corners and just created drywall that was good for a couple of years, and it had terrible problems. Now, kids were getting asthma attacks, people were getting red eyes everywhere, there was just so much sulfur in their lungs, it was terrible. It was a health scare and a health crisis. And everyone thought this crisis was averted after 2012, 2013, all the Chinese drywall got out. And unfortunately, Chinese drywall could be in your home right now if you're living in the southern United States or anywhere really in the country. There's a small percentage of it, but it could happen. So let's get into some details about Chinese drywall. So Chinese drywall affected about 100,000 homes from 2001, 2009. 56% of all Chinese drywall that was in the United States, 56% actually was in Florida, 18% was in Louisiana, 6% in Mississippi, another 6% in Alabama. That rounds out over 80% of all Chinese drywall were in those states alone. other 20% spread across the United States. So if you're outside of those states, Chinese drywall chances really go down. And we're actually going to break down this. So what makes Chinese drywall bad? So Chinese drywall, after a while, it releases toxic chemicals. I can go into really fancy names, carbonated sulfate, all that, but basically it's just a type of sulfur that gets emitted from the drywall out of the paint. And sulfur, if you don't know, if you breathe a lot of that stuff in, it is not good for you. It is I wouldn't say a deadly chemical, but it's very toxic and it'll bring you a lot of problems, especially with your health and your lungs. And so most sulfuric gases were just getting emitted out of them. So it was just not good. So it causes like a myriad of health problems. Some are coughing, chest pains, problem with people with high blood pressure, asthma attacks, red eyes, swollen throats, everything like that. And it just was not good. And the cause of this was actually so the Chinese drywall actually had, it's kind of weird. So it had a excess of a chemical called pyrite. So the people cut corners put a lot of that in there in the drywall, and that caused a lot of problems. People really don't understand this. And unfortunately, it had really bad health problems, and it really affected a lot of people. So the actual culprit of this was a company called Tijamayan. That's what it's called, and that company had a lot of problems because it made Chinese drywall, and it was actually a Chinese company creating that drywall. So specifically, the company was called North Plasterboard Tijian Co., or the thing was called Made in China. So that's the background on Chinese drywall. So let's go to the board right here and let's actually break down the symptoms, the signs, actually how to detect Chinese drywall if you're on a real estate appointment or if you think this has happened to your home. So right now I'm going to show you actually how you can tell if your house is Chinese drywall. So we're just going to go over right now the signs of it in the home. So if you're on a real estate appointment or you're actually looking at your home, this is some very important things you need to know. So the first thing I always look at to test if something has Chinese drywall is the number one culprit, which would be the smell. So the smell of Chinese drywall, it's pretty easy to tell. It's actually sulfur. So the smell of sulfur. So sulfur, if you ever shot a gun or used gunpowder, for July 4th fireworks, you can tell it pretty easily. Sulfur smells like rotten eggs, and it's a rancid smell. You'll know it. You walk into a house, if everything's Chinese drywall, it will smell terrible. And in my experience, I've actually gone to some appointments with it. But the sellers actually told me it was before I walked in there. I'm like, I ain't going to this house. It's not good for my lungs. So it smells like rotten eggs, just sulfur. It's terrible. You don't want to smell. When you walk in, it's not like a smoker's house where you can smell like cigarette smoke. It's very obvious that you can actually tell it from there. And so the second one is you're actually going to look around that property and you're going to look for anything with copper and electrical wiring, anything copper in that property. So I'm just going to break this down. So you're going to say, Zach, where's there copper in a house? I have no idea. That's pretty smart. So what you're going to look is if you can actually look inside the AC, the air handler unit, that will have copper in it. If you actually go through, let's see here, if you actually open the electrical outlets, so something like a plug, if you actually undo that, there's actually wiring in there, and you can actually tell from that if that's got copper wiring. You go in the garage and check the breaker box. Just check the breaker box. If you undo that, that's got copper wiring in it. And what you're going to see here, use the other pen here. So if you actually look through there, you're going to look for copper wiring. Is kind of like it's basically like a brown copper, So that's is good. Like a rustic copper thing. If you actually want to look at the bad, it's bad if the thing is literally like jet black. because that is the oxidation of sulfur with the copper, and that makes it black, and that shows there's high levels of sulfur in your area. So this could be good, you know, if you see black and you think, oh shoot, 100% Chinese drywall. Now, you need to look here. So another great sign to see, and this is probably one of the most important things too. So 3 is the year it was built. So if the property was built in 2001 to 2009, that's another good indication that it's in the range. So there's actually instances of properties built in the 1980s that had no Chinese drywall, but let's say there was a leak here, or somebody, you know, punched the wall through, and they replaced it with Chinese drywall because it was within these years, and only one wall had Chinese drywall. And that's not good either. So it's not a telltale sign. There could be replacements in here that's Chinese drywall, but I still would be careful. So if the copper wiring is black, that's one sign it could be. And another also very important sign besides the smell, the copper wiring and everything like that, is if you actually walk into the property and you actually look at the people in the property, or you're actually living in the house, if your eyes are like bloodshot red all the time, blood red, if you have constant cough, you know, if you got a sore throat, if you got red eyes, cough, or sore throat, you know, if that's constant and you actually don't even know it. Like, you don't smoke, you don't do anything, you don't do any drugs, like you're perfect health, and you just suddenly things are starting to happen when you're living in the property, that's another big sign. And so those are just the signs that, okay guys, so now we're going to break down really the guaranteed and the true signs that the property has Chinese drywall throughout it or through a wall. So I'm going to call this one like the true signs. Now, there's really one true sign to see if there's Chinese drywall, and that's actually to physically look at it yourself. So there's 2 ways you can actually do this. So one, you can go to the attic and look on the drywall up there and look at the brand and place that it was actually manufactured. So either we're going to have a detailed list after this, and I'm not just going to break down brands and everything like that for you, but in the attic, if you look at the brand and the place, so either the brand, unfortunately the bad brand will be a, excuse me, look at my notes here, but I don't speak Chinese or do anything with it. So it'll be, so this is actually the company. So if you see this lettering in the attic, Nof Tijan Co., that is probably 90% of all Chinese drywall is actually from this brand. So if you see Nof on there, you have Chinese drywall. That is the one company that's known for. In the place, if you see a lettering like made in China, you can be in trouble. And then another one is you can actually look at the year, 2001, 2009. Now, seeing for yourself means you're actually physically going to rip the Chinese drywall out. So look at the previous video that I actually tagged on here in the beginning of the Chinese drywall. I'll actually show you how I physically take it out and look. But you're gonna have to see for yourself. So you're gonna have to just get a handyman or yourself, if you're good, physically cut the drywall out, take it out and look at it. And either you're gonna have a Nof, made in China, whatever like that. Luckily for me, when I actually went to look at the property, these were the things that I saw. So A, it was made in Palatka, Florida. Palatka, Florida. B, it was actually made in 2005, which is not good. So that is it's a red flag. But C, great advantage that I have here. Well, actually, it was made in the USA. So these were the actual true signs you can actually look and see. It's great. Maybe it's one wall and you're gonna have to rip that wall off if you smell bad stuff coming from that wall. But these are the true signs to actually detect it. The last thing you can actually do here, this for you, is if your house was built more recently, 2008, 2009-ish, you can actually just call the person that built your home. If it was, for example, Ginn Builders, in your area, actually call the manufacturer, see how many complaints they've had of Chinese drywall. If not, there's certain bad apples per se that created in Florida and Louisiana that are just known for creating Chinese drywall and have. And I know Pulte's had some problems before, D.R. Horton, stuff like that. But if it was built by a weird, obscure company, you can actually call them up. If you can't find them, that's not good, that maybe they went out of business, but there's usually a directory of companies that actually made houses with Chinese drywall. Guys, unfortunately, if you found your house actually has Chinese drywall, it's not good. That's a bad situation you could be in. So either you're a wholesaler and you actually go on a property, you see black copper pipes built in 2004, 2005, and this is bad. Good thing for you, actually go back to the seller and get a really good price for it, and you should get that property under contract. Take pictures and don't go back on the property. 2, if you're more unlucky, I would say if you bought a house Chinese drywall, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to talk to a lawyer, see if there's a way you could sue the manufacturer of the home. Usually if you bought it from a seller, if you're an investor, you're gonna have to replace all the Chinese drywall in the home and get a real true professional to do it. It's not a DIY project with a handyman. It's dangerous. Get out of the house immediately. And if you're a homeowner and it's got Chinese drywall, please get out of the home, look at your options, call a lawyer, and you gotta replace everything in the property. I mean, if you got kids in there, you got family in there, you gotta replace it. So the biggest thing I can say here is I'm not licensed to actually detect or show you Chinese drywall. I can only show you the signs and educate investors and homeowners about Chinese drywall. So take what I say with a grain of salt, but if you saw any of the signs in the home, please get a professional. These are red flags that your house might have Chinese drywall. If not, great, good news, it's got no Chinese drywall. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe and comment your experience with Chinese drywall. I know I had mine, so I'm actually gonna put the video in the end here for you guys to watch if it's something interesting. But that's really it, guys. So Zach and Flip with Rick signing out here. I hope you learned something very educational, important today. And if it saves you hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, I'm truly happy. Now, guys, in the bottom, I actually got a very important link. I found one of the most important websites it is. And it shows you the manufacturer of the year and everything about Chinese drywall. And it'll show you if something's got Chinese drywall or not. Just photos and pictures. It's actually a government directory. Please look at that and educate yourself if you actually ripped open your wall and looked.